Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrew Siff. Mac and Chris have the day off. This Labor Day holiday is all work and no play for residents in Havana. It's all because of an overloaded underwater river that moves throughout the earth. This aquifer that runs through Mason County is rising through the waterlogged ground and into the basements of homes. Residents say they knew the underwater river was there when they built their homes, but didn't know the aquifer would become a problem.
The water table in this area is always pretty high anyway. When we put our house in, we only had to go down maybe about 18 feet for our well, and it's never come up this high before. You know, we've lived here 15 years, we've never had water problems before, but for the last 2 months it's been coming in non-stop, and we've been pumping non-stop, and now it's in the yard and across the roads, and it's just getting worse all the time.
Residents say this has been a problem in the past, but this summer the water level has stayed higher than normal. With Labor Day weekend and the traditional end of summer looming, they're hoping the water goes down before temperatures go up.
I hope it doesn't last much longer, because if it gets into the winter time and you have freezing problems and trying to pump and stuff, it's going to be a disaster.
Holiday travelers may also have to find alternate routes if they're driving through the area. Illinois routes 97 and 78 are closed, and Illinois Route 136 is at risk. Well, the people.
This last weekend of summer brought some bad news for residents of Mason County. Heavy rain saturated fields near Havana, causing some of the worst flooding in Mason County in 70 years. WMBD's Karen Adams has details in this report.
The problem is coming from the ground up. The land is so saturated, water is covering farm fields and roadways.
Route 78 south of Bath has been closed approximately 2 miles south of Bath. Route 97 is closed here about a mile south of Havana. Also, Route 136 east from Havana has got water on the road, although that hasn't been closed at this time. And I don't think, unless things change, that we will have to close 136.
An aquifer is keeping the soil from absorbing any more moisture. However, authorities say it doesn't affect the drinking water because of a built-in screening device that keeps surface water from getting down to the aquifer. But that may be the only good news. As you can see, the water backup is already causing a problem for the Walker Forge Company. But if it continues to rise, it will block off the main entrance. And if that happens, it could leave 120 employees temporarily out of a job until the water goes down. And for farmers like John Wallbaum, that means watered down yields.
It's probably going to affect our harvest. It's going to be, we can't get across our ground. It's probably going to be with us for a long time. The ground's got what we call quicksand under it, and getting combines and that across it is pretty treacherous. I mean, once you're stuck, you really get stuck and there's no bottom to it. Most of the guys have to get a wrecker or to come out and pull them out.
And the problem may not be going away anytime too soon. The last aquifer-related flood took 3 years to go down. In Mason County, Karen Adams, WMBD News.
When it floods, you can sandbag the bank of it. In an aquifer, it will seep right up out of the ground where you're sandbagging at.
What you're going to have to do is go back here to where the Kentucky Fried Chicken is.
Motorists are being rerouted from roads that are already flooded. And the water continues to race toward property over ground that's already saturated.
They don't know nothing. Nobody can tell us anything right now. They don't know. They have no way to stop it. The only thing they can tell you is the sandbag.
And that's what Candy Evans and her family have been doing since yesterday afternoon, hoping to keep the inventory inside their business dry.
All we're doing is trying to save the business. I hope to God we do.
Across the street, students are helping to fill hundreds of sandbags in an effort to keep the water from entering their school.
City officials are hopeful the flood waters will never reach the downtown area, but this community has already been through 2 major fires in the last year, and now they'll have to rely on people helping people to get them through this latest disaster.
Those same people, when the water started coming in, they're out there sandbagging, doing whatever they can to try to help those businesses stay afloat.
So for now, all they can do is pull together and hope the rain stays away and continue business as usual. At least as usual as they can under these conditions. Jackie Kahn, 19 Eyewitness News at 6.
Yeah, that's a situation that's been developing since last weekend, so they're working hard.
He's remodeled.
Students today completed sandbagging the Havana Junior High School building as seeping groundwater inches toward it. WMBD's Orrin Benjamin reports underground water seeping to the surface continues to threaten Havana homes and businesses.
It all started Sunday night and hasn't stopped since. Water seeping out of the ground everywhere. Some say at the rate of 5,000 gallons a minute. Creeping eastward, threatening homes and businesses on Havana's eastern side, and creeping closer to the largest building in its path, Havana's junior high school building. It's here that a volunteer army of high school students has been working the past 2 days, sandbagging the building just in case the water should reach it.
We're using probably 40 to 50, 60 students every hour. We're taking them from PE classes and from study halls, and they're very willing workers. We appreciate that.
Meanwhile, the water just keeps coming, seeping up from the region's underground aquifer, which is apparently fully charged from this summer's heavy rainfall. Route 97 east of Havana remains closed to everything but 18-wheelers. But just where the water's coming from or how to stop it remains an unknown.
It's very frustrating. You know, you see this water running down the roadway and it just keeps coming and coming, and you know, you just don't know where it's coming from. If it was a river, you know, they can predict a crest. But in this case, nobody can predict anything.
Havana residents, therefore, are forced to prepare as best they can, especially if they occupy low terrain. Makes it hard to fight.
Oh, it does. You don't know what's behind it. You don't know how long. You don't know where it's going to come from. It's filling up the low areas and coming from every direction now. So it's a major problem.
So Havana residents just keep sandbagging and hope that Mother Nature will somehow shut off the water. Or in Benjamin, WMBD News.
Havana officials think the rate of flow slowed a little overnight and hope it will diminish further soon.
Rising waters in Mason County refuse to yield despite desperate efforts from residents.
Good evening. Crops and cities alike continue to sink deeper as the high waters engulf that county.
One town fighting hard to keep its head above water is Bath. Tracy Peterson shows us what residents are doing to bail out their town.
The town of Bath is taking just that as homes and roads are flooded all over town.
It's everywhere, I tell you.
For 2 days, residents have been shoveling furiously, fighting to dam up the water. They have also tried to drain the pools by digging a trench to the Illinois River, but instead, residents found out just how fierce Mother Nature can be.
There's so much force from the water coming out of the center of town, the banks started giving away and caving in until this is what you find right here.
Since the trench didn't work and there's still a lot of flooding around town, Bath is switching to Plan B. They're going to use these 12-inch cement pipes. They're going to link them together and put them over a drainage ditch that'll drain into the Illinois River. But first, to do that, they have to dig a hole here to put the pumps in.
In order to supply this pump has got to stay below water. It's got to stay below water. It is dug deep enough to let all this water come into one place instead of starting at an edge and trying to pump it out.
If this does the trick, Bath could be dry in the next 48 hours. If not, residents may have to let nature take its course and learn to cope with the water for a while. Tracy Peterson, 19 Eyewitness News at 6.
Well, Bath officials are now calling for volunteers to help them sandbag tonight. They are asking people to meet at the town's fire department.
Residents in Mason County are also coming to the rescue in Havana. Officials put out the call for volunteers last night, and they say many people showed up to help out. Water is coming up from the ground, flooding out businesses and homes. Residents have been sandbagging round the clock. All 3 schools in town are closed, as are many roads. Officials believe the city is now holding its own, but they fear more rain could be disastrous.
An unusual flood in the central Illinois community of Havana may get worse before it gets any better thanks to nearly a half foot of rain the past 2 days. An underground lake or an aquifer has been flooding for several weeks thanks to this year's heavy rains. Several homes and businesses have been flooded by the underground lake, and experts say, unlike rivers, this underground aquifer is difficult to predict. It's happened before, but not in 70 years.
It has surfaced there numerous times in the past. It seems to do so about every 10 or 20 years with varying degrees of severity. So it's not the first time it's occurred. It's the first time in recorded history where it's been this severe. We've been told that in the 1920s it was similar to this, where there was flooding that actually approached the town and got into town from that aquifer.
School was closed today so students could help fill sandbags as the runaway water threatens their junior high school.
The Illinois Farm Bureau says flooding has affected at least 125,000 acres of farmland in Mason County. Some areas are so sopped it could be 2 to 3 years before crops can be planted again. News 25's Dave Tilley has the story of one of Mason County's farmers who's surveying his soaked fields.
Like most Mason County farmers, this is the time of year to bring the crops in from the field. But there will be no harvest for Vernie Heye and his family. 700 of their 1,000-plus acres are underwater. Vernie's son Dale farms 120 acres to the north and doesn't expect to harvest much.
I would say if we got 10–15%, we'd be very lucky.
His father's financial loss this year could put off his retirement for at least 2 years.
We're looking, our operation's not big compared to a lot of fellas, but we're still looking at $200,000 that we're not going to have. And out of that amount of money, well over half of it would be expenses. That's out of the pocket losses, I believe.
Vernie Heye's family has farmed this area for about 40 years. Their wheat field over here went under the water in March, and all this water can only spell one thing for the Heye family.
Just a disaster, that's all I can say. We felt, even when the flood was going on in the Mississippi, and we felt really sorry for those people. But at this point in time, I don't see a whole lot of difference.
A cold snap could help farmers recover most of their crops by hardening the ground and allowing their combines access to the fields. But the water could destroy the crops before cooler weather arrives. Dave Tilley, News 25 at 6.